Testing. 1, 2, 3. Check. Check. 1. Hello again, everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're doing an oil painting, and I've been showing you a photo here while we're waiting, and I just now realized I'm showing you a slightly different photo than we're going to paint. But I will show you the photo here in a minute when I get to my computer. We're doing 11 by 14 painting, oil on canvas, and it's a photo of Monument Valley in Arizona, and it's provided by a photo by someone who uses the handle MADY75, Maddie75 at pixabay.com. That's a nice website you can go to get paintings, get photos that you can use royalty-free for commercial use. You just have to check and make sure that you are getting a photo from Pixabay and not one from one of the other stock photos or one of the other ones that show up on that website. So photos we're using today came from pixabay.com. So let me go back to my computer here, and I'll show you what we're going to do and show you the images I made with the grid and the sketch that I have for you. Hold on. Okay, here I am back at my computer, and this is a photo I've been showing you for the last 10 or 15 minutes, and I just realized just a second ago that I put the wrong photo up. But the one we're going to paint here is the one that I have a grid image from, and it's a little better composition, I think. I actually took that photo and I zoomed in, I changed it around a little bit, and we're going to paint this big pillar on the right here and try to show a lot of depth in this. So this is what the grid photograph looks like. And we're going to use that as our reference for this painting. I also have a black and white image that I use to sort of make sure the values are close to correct. And so we'll be using that to look at as well. And then also I have a sketch that I made that I use to put on my canvas with. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But this is the sketch that we're going to use. So these photos and this sketch are all out on my website. You can download them and use them for your use if you want to do this painting. And so let me go back to my easel now, and I'll take you through the paints and the brushes, and we'll get started. Hold on. Okay, I'm back at my easel now, and here's my palette, my typical oil painting palette with my Gray Matters canvas or sheet here that I put my paints on. And I'll go around the palette here and explain the colors. This is my standard Bob Ross setup, and we have titanium white here. These are all Bob Ross colors. Titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue. Actually, I have those two reversed. I put them on backwards. This is phthalo blue. This is Prussian blue. Midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green. I'm leaving out cad yellow, using yellow ochre for my yellow, leaving out Indian yellow, a little dab of bright red we might need, and I have my Grumbacher color called ultraviolet here. So that's the colors, and we'll be using. Here are my brushes. I have my 1-inch blender. I have my half round here brush. I have several of my fan brushes here, have my script liners as usual, and I have a few other brushes that I use from time to time from Trekell.com. I have some flats here that I may use on some of these mountains. Since these are smaller on 11 by 14 canvas, sometimes these smaller flat brushes help better than the big brushes, the wider brushes. And I have my palette knife from Bob Ross, as I always have. I actually have a couple other palette knives I may use, I may not. So that's my painting materials. I do have my liquid white here, as I always have. We'll cover the canvas with that. And in speaking of that, I always, as you know, I talk about having a sketch on the canvas, and in this case, we've got a sketch on the canvas, but I cover it with a product called Workable Fixative by Krylon. And it's one that you can use to protect and cover any graphite you put on here, any pencil sketch or any sketch that you may make from a Sorrel transfer paper or whatever. I mean, it'll cover it up, puts a coating over it, and then this graphite won't mix with the paint when you put it on. And if you put a nice light coat of liquid white over it, you'll still be able to see the reference marks and the major shapes. So I use that pretty frequently now, and it seems to be helping. I also have another photo that I really can't show you. I'm going to block it here. It's a photo that I'm going to use for reference color. I can't show it to you because it's copyrighted, but I will use it. It's from a friend of mine, an artist that does watercolor paintings, and I'm going to use it for some color references that I want to put, because I want to make this a winter scene instead of a summer scene or whatever it shows here in the photograph. So I couldn't find really any good winter scenes of this Monument Valley area out on the pixabay.com. So I'm going to set up my palette now and get it arranged so you can see it, and we'll get moving here. And I think that should be coming through pretty well right now. Let me get over just a little more, about like that. Okay. You can see most of the canvas. I do have a couple other cameras here that I can use, and I'll be using those when I re-edit this video. I'll be using those to make sure you can see the entire canvas while I'm painting. Okay, so I think we're set up, and so let's get started. I want to use my big 1-inch brush here. I'm going to use the liquid white, and I'm going to cover this entire canvas with liquid white, and a very thin coat. Remember, that's what Bob Ross always used to say: nice, thin, even coat of liquid white. And it has to be very thin. One of the things I think a lot of folks struggle with when they try the Bob Ross style is they get too much liquid white on their canvas, and when that happens, you have trouble because it blends with the paint too much and it lightens it up too much. Sometimes people have a real struggle. So by making this a light coat, you can still see my sketch through there. I'm putting a real light coat of this. I can put it on heavy enough that I can actually obliterate this sketch if I want to. If I want to put it on heavier, but I'm just doing a very light coating so that it covers the canvas. It will allow the paint to be slick and move around the canvas, and that's really what the liquid white is good for. It's good for blending. It's good for letting you move the paint around the canvas. It does dilute your paint when you put it on, of course, and you have to take that into consideration when you start putting on your colors. So now, to tell you that's the right amount of liquid white, a best test I have is that you can take your finger and touch it somewhere, and if you get just a little bit of paint on your finger, just so you can still see your fingerprint through there, that's just about the right amount of liquid white. And so you can always put it on thicker, but it's best to keep it thin and light and lightly covered, make canvas. So if you can see that sketch, you've probably got about the right amount of liquid white on there. Okay, let's start with the sky, and I'm going to get out my phthalo blue here, I think, and I told you it was in the wrong section here on my palette. Put a little white in that and get going here. It really takes a lot of liquid white or liquid white to thin this phthalo blue down. It's really a potent color. Having streaks in there that are kind of interesting. The white is mixing with the phthalo blue and giving me some streaks of color. I'm going to put some alizarin crimson in this, and so I'm going to try to get a little more of a violet color. I want to make it look like a winter scene here, and not just a perfectly blue sky. Put this down in here. I'm going to cover this top of the mountain. putting a light coat on there, I can still see the top of that mountain. And we'll just keep going here and getting it to the color we want it. Got a nice, interesting mixture of colors on my brush. It's a combination of white and alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. Okay. So I'm doing a little negative painting here so you can see the some of those distant mountains here, distant pillars or whatever they're called. Some of them are called buttes and some are called mesas, and I'm not sure the exact definition, but I just want to get enough on here to, you can make this a little whiter in some areas here. Put a few clouds. Maybe I'm going to throw a few clouds in here that weren't in the original photo. The original photo just had a really nice, almost one color sky. And when you have something that big, you don't want it to take up that much of your canvas space and not have some something going on in there. It's just a good idea to mix it up. I'm going to throw a few more colors of this in here. I think I want some more tone. I want to put a little of my midnight black in there, get a little grayish color in some of this, and we can maybe tone it down so it's not such a powerful blue all over the place. I haven't cleaned my brush. I'm just using this brush over and over and over, and let's see here, you know, a little more of my red in there. I'll taper this out a little more. It's a little bit too stark of a change from the, yeah, like this. Okay. All right, now let's come back and let's put a few clouds in there. Take just a little of my liquid white or titanium white. I'm going to put a few spots around here. Put some color in there. Different way to put clouds on. And I'm going to mix that with a little midnight black in some areas, and we'll just see what this looks like. Haven't done this trick before, but I'm going to throw some things out there and just see how this works. A mixture of titanium white and some clouds. The sky is too big to leave blank. It needs to have something going on. Okay, so now I've messed that up. Let's see what we can do with it now. The old X stroke comes through again, right? Big X's. Interesting. It took a lot of that. That brush just took all that stuff out of it. So we'll put a few more clouds in here. So you can just kind of put these in like that, and then come back with this blender brush, and you can sort of blend them out, blend the tops of them. Whatever makes you happy. It's a good way to leave some marks in the sky. That let's see if I can put a few more across here. Just run them out like that. Maybe a couple over there. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll put a few more light things in here. I'm just kind of playing around with this now. I don't have to spend this much time on the sky. But I just want to give it some interest. You notice the sky makes up probably almost two-thirds of the painting, two-thirds of the canvas. So that's a good compositional thing to know, that you don't want to have two-thirds of your canvas just one color. You want to have some things going on that look like there's activity out there. Put a few more of my darks in here, maybe try a few of these in this area down here as we get down this way. Still haven't cleaned any brushes out. I'm just messing around here, basically. Putting in lights, putting in darks. So I'm getting some things that look like there's some nice cloud arrangements out here. Maybe I put a few more up here a little higher. Run them off the canvas, connect them together. Okay, I think I've spent enough time on this sky. But again, that is like almost two-thirds of the painting, right? So it's just... Okay, there you go. There's a decent sky. All right, I'm going to stop. Hi, Lindy. Welcome from South Africa. Good to see you again. Glad you're with us. Okay, so I'm cleaning my brush out, getting all the color out of it, and I may not use this again until I get ready to put some snow on, but I'm going to go back now. We're going to start on these mountains and these pillars. Well, I want to start sort of in the back, and I'm going to use some of my blue and some of my alizarin crimson colors to put these darker, not darker, but the ones that are in the distance, the ones that are back further. I want this to be a darker color than we've got in the sky, so you can see it. So I had a pillar coming up here, something like that. Can't see that, can you? I have to make it darker yet. So the blue, I'm using this blue color as a way to push everything back. Blue and this alizarin crimson together, pushing everything back. I got another one here that's almost going to be totally violet. I'm going to get a little of my violet color, and if I can pick him out right in here, something like this. See, the photograph doesn't do this for you. It doesn't show you this. This is just a nice clean photograph that has everything in focus, nothing out of focus. Everything is perfect, and everything is crisp. But it is a long distance. So you have to, when you put it on a 14-inch wide piece of canvas, you have to do something to fool the eye. You have to help the viewer realize that what's going on here is pretty far away. And this is just an optical illusion that we're creating actually, by these colors. And so we're creating that so that it looks like it's farther away. And then this other one over here is darker, a little more dark black in him, and he starts right about, let's see, right about in here somewhere. We've got one that's a little bigger, a little broader, and it's down this way, and this little pillar on him out there, like that. Okay, so I should mention I do have this chat window open here, so if you want to chat with me or make a comment or make a criticism or something, you can put that in the window and I will try to respond to you and keep a little chat going here. Okay, so this, as it comes forward, it starts getting a little more brown in it in some of the areas here, and it's actually, we're going to turn this into some snow actually. So I just put a little brown in that to a little dark sienna. Some areas, this is darker here. This is really dark actually, between my midnight black and dark sienna. This is almost all dark. It's in shadow. The sun's coming from this way. So I've got to make sure I got my shadows right, and I have my dark values on the left side of everything and my lighter values on the right side. Okay. So this little Treckel number 8 flat is doing all the work here on this detail. But again, this is so small, if I try to use a brush like this, I'd be all over the place trying to get that that small of a mountain in there, or pillar, or whatever you want to call it. This is about half and half. It's lighter on the right side than it is on the left. So let's just lighten it up, or darken it on this side, and we'll keep that looking that way. Looks like a little castle out there almost. All right, so that's that, and we're going to start now going up this way with some grays and darks, and we're going to start getting in the greens, or not grains, but the browns and the reddish browns. Mixture of dark sienna, alizarin. We'll start running up this way. Now these are going to be closer to us, so the colors are going to be more vivid. They're not going to be blues and violets. They're going to be more of the natural color. Okay. Cyber Zombie, hello, thank you. Glad you're here. I hope this is helpful for you all. Give you some ideas of what you can do with just a few colors and a couple of brushes. I'll pull this dark sienna forward. Mixture of alizarin and dark sienna. This area here is gonna picking up that liquid white that's underneath it. You can see how the color is lightening up on me, but it's making some interesting vertical marks there, which I like. I'm going to go back and pick up some. I haven't washed this brush out. I'm just using color on top of color and making this kind of work together. I get the color on my brush. I mix the colors in the brush and use whatever's on the brush, and I adjust it as necessary. Like that. Pick up some more of this alizarin and dark sienna. Back over here. It's a little lighter. Lighten it up a little bit. Okay. Okay, we're getting a nice, nice combination, nice mixture of colors. Hi, Sylvia. Yeah, Sylvia asks, suggestion for oil paint brand for a beginner. Also, what do you use to clean your brushes? Want to try oils, but worried about the odor. I use the Bob Ross odorless thinner. It's how it's advertised. It's not totally odorless, but it certainly does not have the odor of turpentine, and it's healthier for you. So I use the Bob Ross brushes, Bob Ross paints. These are all Bob Ross brand paints that I'm using, except I have one over here called Ultraviolet, which is a Grumbacher paint, and I use that Ultraviolet just because I'm kind of lazy. It's not a Bob Ross color, but I don't have to mix that color, and so it kind of, anytime I want to use that, that's what I use. So Bob Ross paints, the Bob Ross odorless thinner. There's other thinners you can get. You can use turpentine. Some people still use turpentine, but there's a lot of odorless thinners that you can get. There's a lot of thinners that are not odorless. So you just have to try them out and see what you like, most of the paints I've been reading, most of the paints are non-toxic anymore. They've had so much issues with the paints being toxic that I think almost all brands now are relatively toxic free. Okay, this is, I'm just filling in now here this color. It's more orange in the actual color that's on the canvas here than I have it. So I'm going to put a little bit of my ochre, pick up a little yellow into this red, and we'll get a little more orange in here in some spots. So these are like layers of rock and stuff that come down, and they pile up down here at the bottom. They get a little more orange as they go. I'm going to be putting some snow in here, so I'm not going to cover all of this, but I want this to have some definition of color change and that sort of thing, so that it shows the different layers of rock, different layers of material that's falling on the ground here. Hello, Biano 3D. Thank you, from Brazil. Welcome. In case you just joined me, the reference photos for this are out on my website. There should be links below this video you're watching to get those off my website and use them for your purposes. This is a photograph is copyright free. You can use it for personal use or commercial use, according to pixabay.com website. Put a little more dark in here in some of these areas. Need some more shadows. Darken it down a little bit here. Yeah, there, that's better. And then over this area, it's got to be darker. Trying to make this now. I'm doing the fooling the eye. I'm just putting another layer of really dark paint here to make it look rounded. It makes it look like the sun's shining, hitting. It's coming over, and it's making this shadow come out this way. I don't want that to be a rectangle. It's another mistake a lot of beginners make, is that they put a lot of geometric shapes in their paintings, and unless you're doing an abstract painting or something where you want some geometric shapes, I try to stay away from as many geometric shapes, circles and squares and rectangles and all that sort of stuff. I try to stay away from. Okay, so we've got some, this needs to be darker up here on this side. So let's put a few more dark areas. It just, you see how it just changes the dimension of this when you see it. It changes the look by just putting a few very light streaks in there. I'm just adding texture to what you're seeing. And they can be light streaks, they can be dark streaks. But the dark shows the shadows, and the light streaks show the highlights. So if I come back and put a lighter tone in some of these areas here, it's going to look like this is being hit by sunlight, more sunlight there. Same over this way. All right, I don't want to belabor this too much, but I do want to make sure you see the different types of what's coming down. I got this, and I got some stuff sticking out, and then there's another layer, and it's like 2 or 3 layers coming down till it gets down here and it starts getting to a ground layer down here in this area. Okay, I think I've kind of beat that one to death. Let's go over and finish on this one over here. I'm going to put a little more of my orange in it, more yellow and ochre and red, and my dark sienna. We'll see what this looks like over here. A little bit too dark, maybe. Put a little, lighten up just a little with some white. Okay, like this. I want it to be oranger. I don't have to match these colors on the photograph exactly. It just kind of, when I show you the photograph, when I'm painting, it kind of looks like, oh, you're not matching any of the colors. So I'm trying to at least get the values right. The colors don't have to be right, but I kind of like to make them a little closer if I can. So all this flat brush is really good for this kind of stuff. It just gives you a nice, good square edges at the top if you want them, flat edges. And really makes it look a lot neater than with a typical bristle brush. Where's my darker here? I want some more dark spots in here. I need some places that have some indentations and things like that. Okay, it's better. I'll put a few dark spots in here maybe. I want to get some more of this black. Put in some more dark in here. All right, and we'll add just a little of this brown down here at the bottom to kind of lighten this up. All right, so that's further back. Now what I've got coming forward now is a lot more brighter, I guess, more like reddish orange color here. All this down this way. Trying to make the separation by making the dark behind it lighter in front. I'm giving you the separation that between what's in front and what's in back. At least that's what I'm trying to do. And again, if you notice my brush strokes, when I'm painting this, I'm going up and down. When I'm painting this where the rocks are falling from the bottom and making this surrounding area, I'm making the brush strokes go the angle of the land. Thank you, Sue. Nice atmospheric quality. I appreciate that. Trying to get some depth in it. The photograph is so detailed and so perfectly focused on everything. It doesn't show the real depth that you need to put in photographs like this, because you're trying to take something, again, I've said this before, you're taking something that's miles and miles wide and you're trying to put it on 14 inches of canvas. And so you have to do something to fool the eye. You have to work on your atmospheric perspective, and you have to do things that make the optical illusions work here. So it's kind of what I'm doing. All right, this over here looks like it needs to be darker. As I go back and look at my reference photo, this is really not dark enough at all here. Let's put another layer of midnight black on there. So it makes that stand out much better if I put a much darker shadow on there. I think that's better. A bit down here. Darker there. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to start putting in some stuff that kind of looks like dirty snow back there, it looks like. Getting some white, just taking titanium white and kind of overlaying what we've got out here. I got plenty of liquid white, or plenty of titanium white. I can come back and redo this as many times as I need to get it lighter if I need it more white in it. But let's just put a layer of light stuff back there. Yeah, Sue, thank you. That's a good comment. Cool colors work against the nearer warm tones. That's the idea. That's what when I'm talking about atmospheric perspective, that's what you do. You use blues and purples to put them in the scene. If you put them right next to colors that are warmer and brighter, it makes the whole scene look like it has depth. And that's exactly what makes atmospheric perspective work in a painting like this. I'm just throwing in some white paint with whatever's got in. I got some brown in it. I got a little bit of red in it. I got all these colors floating around in here, and this is sort of just covering the landscape here with snow. It's kind of hard to see it because it's white on white, but that's what's going on here. And I want to put some of this snow in some areas along in here. I want some snow along here. Some areas, make it drop down a little bit in some areas. Same idea on the other side. I want some snow along here. Using the knife and just putting a interesting layer of, and you take the knife and if you can pull it fast, you make those typical brush strokes that it just pulls off whatever's on the knife. And so I don't have to have a lot to just tell you that there's snow out there, right? This is just put a little thicker. So it's having it back that way is telling you there's snow in this scene. Put a little more back here maybe. Okay. This foreground and all this stuff is just a bunch of, I don't know, scrub grass and bushes and crazy looking things that are just really nondescript. When I put them in the sketch, I just made little circles and said, I'm going to put something there that looks like a bush or something. Okay, so I've got this pretty well finished down to this level here. And this should have more definition in here because it's closer. Back there, whatever snow may be back there is all blended. You can't see it. So I'm going to try to get a couple of these colors that I was looking at here. This using ochre and a little bit of my sap green to get and a little bit of this Prussian blue to see if I can get some of these green colors that are in these bushes that are kind of sticking up here. I need a little more white in that maybe. And we'll see what these things look like. If they don't look good, I'll just take them out. But I'm going to try to put a few of these things in here that kind of look like they're kind of sticking above the snow, or in the snow or whatever. And it's just a way to sort of fill out the areas back here that have some things that are still green sitting out here. The snow didn't totally cover them up. Something like that. I'm going to go get some more snow here. So far I haven't used hardly any of my Bob Ross brushes. I've only used that one big blender. I've been using these Trekell, these are called synthetic mongoose is what this brush is. Probably never heard of that before, but that's what they're selling. Actually what they've been selling for quite a while. I've had these brushes for a while. I try to stick to the Bob Ross brushes when I can, but sometimes I just have to deviate and get into some other brushes that are smaller. When I'm doing something like this where I have a lot of small items to stick on the canvas, these smaller brushes are better. Bob Ross painted on 18 by, or 32 by 24, so I forget what size canvases, but they were big canvases. That's why he had all those big brushes. And he could make that all happen in 27 minutes. And I've already been going 42 minutes, so on 11 by 14 here. So the idea is you just want to get this covered with snow, and then we'll come back and plop in a few more bushes and that sort of stuff. Just fill out the foreground. So the focal point's really these big pillars here, but the sky is a big part of this painting, so you don't want to leave it uncovered, and you don't want to leave it as one color with nothing going on. Yeah, D. Schmidt from Canada. Yes, actually the painting I'm using as a reference for some of these colors was done as watercolor, and done by my friend Sterling Edwards. And I usually use a lot of his photos. Actually, I use, when I do watercolors, I use a palette that he designed and brushes that he designed, and so I like a lot of his work, and he made a very nice watercolor out of this. And because of copyright laws, I won't show it to you, but you can go look at his work on sterlingedwards.com, and you'll see a lot of very beautiful watercolors that he does. He does some of these snow scenes in some of his watercolors that really are pretty neat. Put a few dark. I'm going to put a few shadows in here. We've got light coming from the right, so I want either of these to be either shadows underneath or shadows on the right of whatever these things are sitting out here. So I'm using my midnight black and throwing in some color here. I think I need to put a little bit of a blue in this. I want to blue this down just a little. Going back and getting some more of this. The blue mixed with white kind of helps you define shadows in snow. it also helps add some depth to this. So I'm just adding a little bit of phthalo blue out there in some areas. It's not water because this is a snow scene, but it does add some nice color to a snow scene. Got this one lonely bush out there. I think I'm maybe going to have to give him a friend, as Bob Ross would say. So these horizontal streaks just give us a little bit of depth, and I can fix that however I want. I'm going to come back and put another little bush in here with some of this green in it. Maybe, actually maybe even a little more yellow ochre in it down here in this sort of front area down here. So I'm just pulling up, taking this bristle brush and just loading up with color, and just pulling up like this. Looks like some grasses or whatever that's been covered with some snow. So by giving ourselves some artistic freedom here, put a few more things in some areas over this way. I'm going to fix this one up. I didn't like the way it looked. Most of these are big grasses that are sort of sticking up, and any type of a brush, a bristle brush that's got any kind of thing like that, you can actually by flicking up, pulling up like that, you can make it look like there's tons of grasses, and every little bristle becomes a brush. So that's a neat way to get some more optical illusion, if you will. Okay, and then let's see here. I'm pretty well done, I think. I'm gonna have some, I want to blend this darker area here, bottom with snow, a bit of this gray, and give myself a little bit of a shadow here. This way, maybe some shadow over there. So by getting 3 values, you've heard me say this before, if I get 3 values in an object, I can give it three-dimensionality. So trying to get medium, light, and dark values in here, I'm getting these objects to look three-dimensional. Like the moody sky, Lindy, thank you. Sue Lowther says, my professor once said that your painting isn't complete till you have touched on all 6 spectral colors. Then you added the green. I thought of him. Yep, I didn't want to leave out a little green. And there's actually a little green in this photograph. So I was kind of following the actual photographer and using what they did. I'm going to get a little bit of my thinner here, sticking thinner into my colors, both dark sienna and midnight black. I'm getting a very runny mixture, and I'm going to put just a few little things sticking out here like this. That, maybe there's another one over here. These are some more twigs and things that are sort of growing, and something like that. All right, just little things. This is kind of fine tuning. You don't have to put a lot of this stuff in. It'll be too much. But I want it to have some of that almost called calligraphy. Oh, I got to do one thing before I sign my name. And Lindy, you know what that is. I got myself a thing called a maul stick. You ever hear of that? It's something that you can put on your easel and hold your hand up off of the painting when you're doing oil paintings. Sometimes you got to get right down on it to like put a little, like a bird of some kind in there. A couple of them. I think I just covered up with my couple of birds. Maybe this is a that. Maybe there's another one over here somewhere. Okay, did that, and I just got red paint on my finger here. I don't know where that came from. I've got to be careful. I'll have it all over my shirt and everything. All right, I was ready to put my name on this thing, but I had to put in those birds. Lindy never lets me forget. So I've almost gotten accustomed now to doing that. Let's see if I can put my name in here somewhere. Okay, one more thing that I've been intending to do for weeks and weeks when I do an oil painting is to put a little frame around it. I just see an area that needs to have this touched up here so that this actually fits in with the, it's like it's part of, it's not glued on. All right. I'm going to get myself a frame and just, I'm not going to put it on, I'm going to hold it over so you can see it. I'll take my palette off here and let you see what this would look like framed. Okay, so there, I want to call this complete, and hopefully you can give this a try at home. Get the reference photos down below, and I think that's enough for today. I hope you like this. I hope you give it a chance, give it a try, and if you like this, please share it, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you like the music that while you're waiting, check out AntonioRomo.com. He's the pianist that lets me use his music before my paintings and while you're waiting. And I like his work. Also check out Pixabay.com, P-I-X-A-B-A-Y, Pixabay.com for free photos that you can use for your own purposes, for commercial use or non-commercial use. Check out my Facebook, my website, you'll get the links from. And so I think that's all I want to do today, and until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye-bye.